So I finally got done watching the latest episode of Shouwa, and I gotta say, this was a pretty good episode. And before I get into that episode, I just wanted to say I'm sorry that this video is a little late. It really just shows you that from one day without doing any reviews, pretty much these other reviews and the reviews that came out on those days that you took a break from really start to pile on top of each other, and then you're like, holy shit, I need to review this stuff as quickly as possible. So anyways, let's get started with this review of Shouwa. What happened in this episode? So for the most part, what happened in this episode, it's really hard to describe, to be quite honest with you. It really left off on a very interesting cliffhanger. So let's first start off what mainly happened in this episode before we actually get to the ending. So what mainly happened in this episode is that Yotaro has been increasing his reputation in the Rakugo world still. And Yokumo has really helped him in this process. So we actually see that there is a theater that is set for them, especially including Konatsu, to actually play in this theater, like a kind of like a family theater, so to speak. So Yokumo comes in order to perform for, thousands and thousands of people at this Rakugo concert, as well as Yotaro as well. Now, we don't really see Konatsu, at least as of yet, performing her Rakugo, and we know that she is good at Rakugo, it's just that she rarely does it, so we're probably really not going to see anything from her in quite a while, maybe not never, besides that one episode that we saw her actually performing, which she did an amazing job, by the way, but she's just kind of like, the person in the background, that hears the Rakugo playing out and plays the instrument, where the story of the Rakugo needs to be. It needs to have that sort of music in order to match the tone of the story. So with that said, this is mainly where the setting of the story takes place, in this theater, this family theater that Yotaro, Yokumo, and of course Konatsu are a part of. And I believe the first one to actually do Rakugo was actually Yokumo himself. So, talking about what happens in this episode. Now, first let's go with that opening. Let's look at that opening really quick. Automatically, I was like, wait a minute, something stands out in this opening. Something has changed. Something definitely has changed. And the part that ended up changing in this episode was when we see Sukeroku opening up, basically, I guess, the body of Yokumo. And we see that Sukeroku has red eyes. Red eyes. In the beginning portions of the openings that we have seen in the past episodes, when we get to that final part of the ending, Sukeroku does not have red eyes. He just has normal eyes. But in this episode, he has red eyes. So what do red eyes symbolize? Mainly it symbolizes anger, so to speak, okay? Now, when we revert to the ending of this episode, we see that while Yokumo is telling this story, it kind of also symbolizes, his past actions that he has made as an individual himself. The story kind of symbolizes what Yokumo has been through and also the people around him, which, in fact, I would say is how, the opening to this season is, as we see numerous people that have been influences on Yakumo's life. All of these characters that we are introduced in this season and from the past season all have connections to Yokumo. So, there goes to show you right then and there. Now, also, while he is, giving the story of his Rakugo, we see that he ends up seeing Miko? I can't remember her name, but basically she was kind of like, I guess the prostitute girl in season 1 that Yakumo kind of like had a relationship with, so to speak. I could be wrong on that, but that's what it looked like. It looked like she was the individual that ended up dying with Sukeroku. And Yakumo sees this and he's like, wait a minute, what the fuck? This is crazy. I'm just hallucinating right now. And then after the smoke dissipates, we have Yakumo, clutching his heart, clutching his chest, and he's like sweating, and he's like, he does not know what is going on. Of course, we as the viewer knows he's probably suffering a heart attack right now. But actually, he wasn't. It was just that the image, the hallucination that he saw really put a toll on him. And of course, at his his old age, he is not in the best shape. So anything would probably scare him at this point. And we even have Konatsu and Yotaro in the background looking at like, whoa, what's going on? This is not good. What's going on? And even so, even though he sees this ominous sort of illusion in front of him that was actually someone he knew in the past, like, he still goes on to perform his Rakugo. The show must go on, despite the fact, that, he has seen something very, very ominous in front of him, and also he is hurting at the same time. The guy is, not really doing that well at his old age. I mean, even at his own age, he shouldn't be doing Rakugo, because it's probably going to take a toll on him as an individual himself, and we see him, perform Rakugo still, because it is a part of his life, but at the same time, like, the guy's getting old, and here is when we really start to see it. And then the episode ends off with the curtains closing. We then end up seeing that Yakumo ends up being... We then end up seeing that Yakumo ends up passing out, and then the episode transitions over to a scene in which Yakumo is in a room filled with lit candles. And also Sukeroku is actually standing in front of him. Okay? And Sukeroku ends up going up close to him and he says, "So, you are finally here." Yakumo is like, "Whoa, you actually spoke? Yo, Sukeroku, is this paradise? And, am I dead, so to speak?" And then, all of a sudden, Sukeroku ends up putting him on the edge of, I guess this room that Yakumo and him are in, and starts to choke him. And this is kind of referring back to season 1, like how Yakumo was at a cliff with Sukeroku in his arms. He wasn't choking him, but however, he was like clinging on to him from dear life. And it kind of seems like also Sukeroku in a way is also clinging on to Yakumo, but in a different sense, like actually like choking him. I don't know if that makes sense, but hopefully it does. The symbolism in this episode was it was very over the top. Like, the opening made it very ominous. It seems like Sukeroku is still, haunting Yakumo's memory, still haunting him around him, so to speak. Like, Yakumo, is living with this hatred that he knows Sukeroku has for him. He thinks that, Sukeroku hates him, and that he was the cause of his death. Even Konatsu, hates Yakumo in a way. I mean, we do know that she, deep down inside, cares about him to a certain extent, but at the same time, we know that she ended up wanting to kill Yakumo for the sole purpose that her father ended up dying. And see, this is the thing right here. Yakumo, has lived a life full of regret. That's the whole thing. And I guess this is where we get to see him as he is on the verge of death. He's in this candlelit room. It seems like things are going to finally put an end to him, but I'm pretty sure in the next episode we are going to see him being revived. Like, he's gonna wake up eventually, but he will end up dying very, very soon. He will. And hopefully we just see him, get back up on his feet and realize that Sukeroku, doesn't really have ill omens towards Yakumo. I mean, Yakumo still pays his respects, at the graveyard, but at the same time, Yakumo has been living in a life filled with regret, and maybe, that scene right there shows that Yakumo thinks that Sukeroku hates him. Therefore, he is seeing the image that Sukeroku wants to kill him, wants to choke him. That's just my interpretation. Maybe there is a little bit more meaning to that scene, and I know there is, because Shouwa has a very good way on giving off symbolism. You definitely have to look at it in several different ways to, get the full meaning, but at the same time, I really do think it's up to the viewer in order to make those interpretations, but that's just at least my interpretation. That's what I think it is. So definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments down below on what you guys thought about this episode. What did you think about the symbolism in this episode as well? Because the symbolism was really well done in this episode, I personally thought. So yeah, let me know your thoughts, and I guess I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.